Today I thought I would try to do something different than my normal kind of content. I thought I would take a look at the political messages of one of my very favorite bands, Idles. Idles came to prominence with their 2017 record Brutalism, and I saw them live the same year at Roskilde Festival, where I was blown away by them. Their live energy, Joe Talbot's rusty voice, and the two flamboyantly strutting guitarists Lee Kiernan and Mark Bowen all had a commanding presence to them. Since then, they have released two additional full-length albums, Joyous and Active Resistance and Ultra Mono, and they have only exploded in popularity since 2017. To narrow down my look at the politics of Idles, I have chosen a song from each of the records that I will be going through from Brutalism through Ultra Mono. So to start off, let's talk about the amazing song Mother. Mother is the third song off of Idles' debut album Brutalism. As the title would suggest, it's about mothers and the type of labor that they traditionally provided in the home, as well as how this labor wasn't seen as being as valuable as the type of labor that men traditionally put into the workforce. The lyrics of both verses are an identical ascending line about how many hours a day Joe Talbot's mother worked, from 15 to 17 hours a day. The pre-chorus tackles other forms of appreciation of labor, the first part being the best way to scare a Tory is to get rich, repeated 4 times. Afterwards, the line, "I know nothing, I'm just sitting here looking at pretty colors," is repeated, which is a bit more of an ambiguous line than the first one in the pre-chorus. Regardless, I've always thought this line to be about how the humanist types of science aren't seen as being as valuable as STEM sciences. As in, the humanist forms of science have no value and we're just sitting here looking at pretty colors. The song becomes way more explicit in the bridge about its message. Sexual violence is not just rape. It is something that is taught to our children right from when they enter school, as in, the gender norms and roles we are taught via social conditioning are the foundation from where we understand sexual violence. The bridge also addresses the different sexual anxieties that men and women have, pointing out how women have more grave consequences to fear from men than the other way around. This also puts the chorus line of "motherfucker" in a different and more brutal light. What connects the different parts of the song is how societally accepted perspectives delegitimize femininity and overly emphasizes masculinity. The labor of mothers is less valuable than the labor of fathers. Humanist disciplines of science are less valuable than the STEM sciences. And even though sexual violence disproportionately harms women, they are also accused of wanting to play the victim more than men are. Samaritans is the 7th track off of Joyous and Active Resistance, and in contrast to Mother, which explored patriarchy's harmful effects on women, it instead explores how patriarchal attitudes about masculinity is also harmful on men. Like the structure of Mother, Samaritans also employs the poetic figure of repetitions of its verses. Each verse is a list of different prescriptions of patriarchy imposed on men, which are presented in pairs that contradict each other, such as man up and sit down. This also coincides with other instances of expectations of masculinity that are at odds with society's broader expectations. For example, that boys are expected to be the initiators of social situations, while they are at the same time told not to cross lines. The societal critique of these lines are clear. It is confusing to grow up as a man in our society, since hypermasculine and broader societal expectations are at odds with each other. The pre-chorus line of "the mask of masculinity is a mask that's wearing me" is a beautifully succinct line that expresses how masculinity is a societally constructed phenomenon, and it requires the performance of masculinity to even exist in the first place. Followed by this description of masculinity as a social performance, we get an explicit example of how this affects men in the chorus. This is why you never see your father cry. This line explores one of the many ways that patriarchy is also harmful to men, since men are, under patriarchy, not expected to show or process their emotions in public, or in fact, even at all. While both Mother and Samaritans are critiques of harmful effects of patriarchal views on gender norms, Samaritans, and in fact the whole of Joy as an Act of Resistance, has an entirely different political agenda in the bigger picture. This is also represented in the last part of Samaritans. In this part of the song, Joe Talbot loudly exclaims, "I kissed a boy and I liked it." This line is emblematic of the entire mission that Idles set for themselves as a band when they wrote Joy as an Act of Resistance. Namely, that they wanted to make songs with positive and constructive messages in their songs instead of just making apocalyptic statements about society. This is a mission statement that Talbot himself has mentioned in interviews after the release of Joy as an Act of Resistance. From the remaining album Ultra Mono, I thought I would take a look at the song Rains. Since I started writing this video, the band has also released a music video which visually just plays into so many of the themes that I wanted to explore. While the two other songs are exemplary of the politics of gender that Idles explore, Rains is instead explicitly about class politics and exploitation. The lyrics are extremely simple and repetitive, even for Idles. The first verse is simply the line, "How does it feel to have blue blood coursing through your veins?" Blue blood being, of course, a metaphor for royalty and high class. Tories are also associated with the color blue. I take this to mean that Talbot is addressing the higher classes or the bourgeoisie directly, which he does for the entire song. The chorus is just the line, "Pull on my reins." I take this to be a commentary on how the bourgeoisie can directly manipulate the working classes through their power and influence, as in the reins of the working class. That these reins can be things like mass media is also something that I think is underscored by how the music video for the song works. And I will return to the video soon. The second verse has two lines, the first being, "How does it feel to have shanked the working classes into dust?" And the second being, "How does it feel to have won the war that nobody wants?" Both of these lines contribute to the narrative about the bourgeoisie exploiting the working class to its own goals. The second line can very much be read as a reference to unwanted wars like the Iraq War of the early 2000s. This is also where the music video and its symbolic meaning becomes especially relevant. The video consists entirely of stock footage of two kinds: people sitting and watching TV and laughing, and nature documentary footage of predators eating prey. In the beginning of the video, the images flashes back and forth between the prey animals and the TV watching audience, which I take to mean that Idles wants us to see them as analogous to the prey, while the predators in the stock footage that eat and kill the prey are meant to symbolize the bourgeois capitalists that exploit them. The cynical message of the video and the song itself is that the bourgeoisie doesn't just exploit the working class, but it also turns the working class on itself. Instead of feeling sympathy for the eaten animals, the audience are instead enjoying the spectacle, laughing and smiling. This overall meaning of the song, the working class, as in an international and broader sense of the working class, enjoying its own exploitation, can also be linked directly to how mass media functioned before and during the Iraq War. Instead of feeling sympathy for the millions of innocent civilians of the Middle East, mass media was used to foster a feeling of necessity and goodness for the invasion. What Idles do here is very subtly connected to earlier songs of theirs promoting unity. Grounds and Danny Nedelko are examples of songs with these messages. By saying that the audience in the video, standing in for the Western working class, are enjoying the way that the predators, i.e. the military bourgeoisie, the rich, are eating the prey, the international working class, the song also has the subtle point of unity between all of the working class, whether you are from Iraq or Idaho. The songs that I went through are just examples of the Poilitics of Idles, but I believe them to be exemplary of the broader messages of the band: unity and empathy for everyone, regardless of gender, class, and nationality. Whoever you are and wherever you are, Idles want you to know that you matter and that you deserve happiness and love. As a side note, I've also uploaded all of the full covers that you saw snippets of through this video. Thank you so much for watching, and subscribe for more content in the future.